Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick video kind of explaining um, what we're going to do this week. Basically, the last assignment, how technology has affected our lives and world project, which is actually in week 13, will be due next Monday, December 11th by 11:30 p.m. These can be relatively simple projects, guys. I understand we don't have a ton of time to get them done. So I'm not expecting anything super elaborate, but I do expect you to put some thought into these and maybe come up with something that means something to you. So I'll just go over it. It's in week 13. I did it a little bit differently this time. It's not really a project worksheet. So the rise of information and communication technologies is regarded as the third industrial revolution and has resulted in great economic, technological, and socio-cultural change today. So technology is basically kind of omnipresent in our modern lives. So how has technology affected not only our world, but our relationships, the environment? So I want you to create a simple art piece that expresses how technology has affected your life or the lives of society in general. How has it impacted Mother Nature? How does it affect our relationships? Is it negative, positive, both? Will it destroy us or save us? So please create an artwork that expresses your view of how technology has influenced you or the world. And I want you to make it thought-provoking. That's the main thing here. It can be a still image that you make in Canva. It can be done in Photopea. Those are both free products online. You can also use Giphy or any of those other Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. It can be a motion piece, maybe an animated GIF, or it can be still. You can also use a page on your website if you want, kind of hidden away, and just give me the URL as to turn in for a grade. But basically, yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So you can use the software or technology of your choice. You can use techniques that we learned in this class. So I already kind of went over this. Photoshop, Giphy, Bandersnatch, HTML, CSS, WordPress. Sorry, I'm going to pause it because I have a squeaky heater in my office. So it can be static or animated, like I said. So if you're using your website, think of how buttons or a navigation or interactive pieces like that can be used in your work. So like I said, you could use your WordPress site. You could make a page on your WordPress site. You could embed different videos on there, put on different buttons that take you to different pages that say different things. Might be kind of a cool way of doing this project. I'd like to be able to see how your piece was created, so just make sure whatever you turn into me, it kind of shows you how you created this project. There are some examples below that might be helpful to you in coming up with some ideas. So just start planning and figuring out what you want your piece to be about, what the composition, timeline, or interface will look like. These can be pretty simple. You can use stock images, but just make sure you manipulate the images or change them, or you can make them from scratch in Illustrator or whatever program you want to use, like canva.com. Like I said, that's a good one. Like I said, they don't have to be super complicated, so don't worry about coming up with something that's going to be overwhelming for you. We don't have that much time to get these done, so that it could be, just make sure when you're coming up with the idea for your piece that it's something that you can execute relatively quickly. So here's some examples below. This person basically just made this one outline of a human, and then they just stacked it, probably in Illustrator. And then they just used the same shape. They just changed the colors, and then they added these over different faces. So this is probably maybe an animated GIF that was made in Photoshop. This was probably made in Photoshop, so they found kind of this old school Michelangelo painting from the Sistine Chapel, I believe. And then they added in this, probably in Photoshop, over the top, disconnected. Humanity is disconnected from God, maybe from art, from painting or some of the old school thoughts of our forebears. You could really read into this piece a lot. This piece kind of symbolizes trying to keep all of these alerts that you get on your phone and through your computer and everything, from Twitter and messages and everything, trying to keep them contained in a jar just to kind of silence them a little bit, because they can be intrusive in our lives, honestly. This one's about just kind of an interesting graphic about how humans have evolved and how money has, changed. So, we kind of have like a Roman building here and then more modern skyscrapers. And this one's interesting. It looks like it was actually a painting, but his face is basically kind of stuck to his phone. This one's interesting too because, are we actually, do we still have actual friends, or are we spending more time on our phone with our friends than we are actually hanging out with them? So that's kind of an interesting statement, probably made in Illustrator. And then these links are interesting too. So here's a GIF that was made. Never offline. Kind of an interesting graphic as well. You could definitely combine text with an image if you wanted to kind of bring your point home, basically. And then we'll go over this last link. There's some pretty interesting things in here. Might be worth reading through for you. But anyway, so look through that article. That's a little bit more intensive, but it's actually pretty interesting. So yeah, so just give this a think, get started on it, get it into me by next Monday at 11:30 p.m. It doesn't have to be complicated, like I said. It can be a quick thing that you make in Canva. But just try to make it thoughtful. And yeah, it's been good getting to see you guys this semester. Hopefully next semester goes a little bit better. My COVID test came back yesterday on Monday. I kind of thought I probably didn't have it because I started to feel better, but anyway, hopefully we'll see you next semester and have a good holiday season.